I'm Daniel, the past life regressionist, and it's time to begin.
Lift off and the clock has started.
3, 2, 1. This is Timeless Spirituality. Enjoy Eternity Time.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Timeless Spirituality. So for today's episode, I am doing a replay of an episode I did from a series I did on Instagram about 4.5 years ago. It was called Past Life Talk. And I've been thinking about bringing it back on Instagram. So I wanted to get your guys' feedback if this is something you'd want to see on there again. And yeah, so just let me know. Just go ahead and reach out to me if you enjoyed this episode, if you want to see more of this. I'm also going to have some more episodes like this in season 5, but yeah, I'm thinking it may be time to bring this back on Instagram. So just let me know what you guys think. And with all of that said, if you would like to book a regression with me to discover who, when, and where you have been throughout time, you can go ahead and reach me on Instagram at The Past Life Regressionist or my website, thepastliferegressionist.com. And now, it's time to begin.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 8 of Past Life Talk. Let's get the intro in there. Thank you. Thank you. My God, you guys are back here again. Thank you so much for coming. It's going to be one for you today. So what do we have today? Today we have Randy, who's going to join me in a minute, and we are going to talk about his experience with past life regression. And it was cool. It was cool. And here's Randy right now. So I'm just going to bring him up. We're just going to jump right into it. Hey, Randy.
Hey, Daniel.
How are you doing? Oh, I got to give you your applause.
Thank
you for being here.
Thank you very much. Yes. Good to be here.
Everyone, this is Randy.
Hi.
Welcome to Past Life Talk.
I'm looking forward to this.
Cool. So you want to just tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Wow. Living life in Austin, Texas. I'm a body worker for the past 20-something years. Really, I'm an explorer, I guess you'd say, of pretty much whatever piques my curiosity. And it was 20 plus years ago that I heard about past life regression, and that was something I had to explore more. And it's been quite a while since I've had a regression, and this was quite an experience. I look forward to talking about it.
Thank you. So, how was this different than the other times you went through the experience?
The other times were briefer. They were maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes. Actually in the regression after the therapist started the induction, and they were brief little snippets into scenes. At that time, Brian Weiss's work was all the rage back in the late 90s, and it was all about jumping into a life and then moving rather rapidly to the death scene, and then passing through that experience, not necessarily to get to the other side, but just to pass through that, experience that. In a minute, I'm going to share that very first one and why it's significant with what came up in this regression, which I have to say, I was listening to the recording this afternoon, and I had no idea of time during that. I didn't realize we'd gone over 2 hours in it. So that was quite remarkable. And compared to 15 or 20 minutes, a lot can come up. So,
like getting an 8-course meal in there.
At least, yeah.
So what was it that came up for you in, I guess, the prior one that played a role in your session just a couple weeks?
As it turns out, that original one occurred in the 1880s. I was a 6 to 7 year old girl, the youngest of, I think I had about 12 sisters, all girls. And I was, my father was, he had a plantation in Virginia, but that all went away during the Reconstruction. And by the time I came along, so much had changed in his life, so much sorrow. I was the last of the children because our mother died giving birth to me. And that actually set the stage for my death scene, because my next oldest sister became jealous of me. She had been the baby in the family and really cherished that position. And she blamed me for the loss of our mother. And while my father was away on business, she lured me to away from our house to this old well that sat on the back of the property. And she convinced me she was playing, that we were just having a game. And she dared me to sit up on the edge of the well. And once I was up there, she pushed me in. And it was a dry well, so I went straight to the bottom, landed on my side. And the last thing I remember from that lifetime was, sorry to anybody with a weak stomach. I hope this isn't too horrific, but it was either a rat or a snake. All I could see were the eyes coming at me, and I screamed, and that's the last I remember of that lifetime. But what became significant about that is a subsequent regression with the same therapist went back to that point in time and asked me what was significant about that event. And as I was re-experiencing my older sister luring me out, the face of someone I know in this lifetime flashed across her face. And it happens to be the face of someone whom I experienced bullying from in the 7th grade, and was almost thrown into a swimming pool that was half drained and hadn't been cleaned in a long time, was muddy, murky. And I went into this near hysterical fit and fought him. There were 2 others older than me, much stronger than me, but it's like that whole adrenaline thing kicked in. I fought my way, scratched and clawed till I could get hold of a tree trunk, and I held on to it for dear life. And that had been a very traumatic event in my life, and one that I was, it created a lot of turmoil for me throughout my life until we got to that place. I recognized this was just a past life experience playing back out with a different result. I was able to forgive that other person, forgive myself for the way I acted, and had a huge healing as a result. Now, that's the lifetime immediately after the one that you and I first found ourselves in.
Yeah, I heard the word Virginia come up there when you were describing.
Yeah, you caught that, didn't you? I thought so. Well, I'm going to tell you, I've done a little bit of research into the information that came up during my regression with you. That also has a similar kind of overlap. We'll get to it in a minute.
Well, thank you for sharing. So you want to just jump right in?
Oh, okay.
For you?
Sure. Well, as we talked about in the debrief afterwards, you started me into the induction, and we started to just to visualize and experience my home, my apartment, and outside.
Let's jump to actually. Well, I take it back. That one is significant for right now. Under normal circumstances, I would say let's jump ahead, but this was a unique experience, so we'll go for it.
Okay. And when you were bringing me back into my apartment from being outside briefly, came back in, and you asked me to open the front door. And as I was visualizing coming in my front door, first I saw the things, my coat rack, the bookshelf that I would normally see when I first walk in. And then it just totally shifted into this old wooden, very rough structure of a wall. And you asked me to go across further in and go to my kitchen. And I started describing basically a very simple fire pit with a little opening in the roof of this structure that I was in. And he asked me to describe the utensils, and there was a pot and a ladle, a wooden ladle, and that was it. For a bed, I had straw on the floor, and that's where I slept. And there was like a mud wall. I realize now, basically, I had built in that lifetime a wooden surrounding that backed up to the side of a hill, a rocky hill. And that served as one side of the structure I lived in at the time.
So for everyone watching right now, what was like very perplexing for me about this is this was part of the induction, but Randy kind of jumped ahead to the part where he goes into the past life. So when he's describing the straw bed, I'm thinking, well, this guy I've been talking to for the last couple hours, he's pretty simple. Okay, maybe he's sleeping on a straw bed. And then when you got to the part with the kitchen and describing like that you had the furnace or the fireplace in the kitchen, and then you talked about the bowl and the ladle and that you use the ladle as like your utensil also, I was at the point I'm like, wait, is this your house? Or are we looking at your past life house? So that's where it became more clear at that point. Oh, okay. I see what's going on. He's jumped ahead right now, or he's jumped back in time. So that was pretty cool for me.
Yeah, I like to live minimally, but you know that was a bit extreme.
Hey, stringing with her, use a ladle? Like wow, like wow, he's going there.
Yeah, and as it turns out, that lifetime, I was living in Missouri on the western border. And I'm going to come back to the specific area in just a minute. But it was located, I knew this much, it was located just south of the Missouri River. And it was 1856, 1857 time frame. You asked me for the name of a town. It took me a minute to find that because it had a similar note within this lifetime, and I thought, no, that's not it. That's confusing. That couldn't be it. But there actually was at one point and still exists within Kansas City proper, Kansas City, Missouri proper, a Sheffield, Missouri. And it got swallowed up within the city. And it did exist for a time as a township with a post office that basically its incorporation was 1888. This is back before it was, even a township. It was just a few. I remember you asking me to, what it looked like in town and everything. I could see 3 or 4 buildings, like a general store. There was a small building beside it where I sold the pelts from the animals that I trapped. You asked me, what I did day to day. And basically, I trapped for small game, and I fished, but I didn't like fish, and I'd take those to town. I foraged for some foods, and the rabbit was my favorite. Squirrel was tough and chewy. I think people would agree that's still the case. And those pelts I would take into town and sell to a fur trader that was there. And that was the means for what little money I had. It was a very Spartan life, and at the time that this was occurring, I knew myself to be about the age of 16 or 17. So I had to start out pretty much being self-sufficient from a relatively early age. And you asked me about a significant day. And this was where things got interesting. The scene that first popped up was coming into town, into Sheffield, and I came to hear someone speak. And there was already a fairly large crowd. People from all over the area had come to hear this man speak. And he, when he arrived, he came around to the front of that general store, walked up on the short rising there in front of the store, and he turned around, and you asked me to describe him. He was no one I'd ever seen before. He was, for me, I was not a tall person, so he looked rather tall, but not intimidating. He was a little stooped in the shoulders, and but when he got up in front of us, he did rise up, and there was a strong sense of his presence. You could really feel him when he got ready to speak. You asked me for a name and the name of the man, and I didn't have a first name. All I knew him by was his last name was Lincoln. And I came to hear him talk because he was seeking votes for us to send him back east to represent the entire country. He wasn't running for president at the time, but he was he was just initiating a lot of that, and he wanted to come talk to as many people outside of the large cities as he could. You asked me how I felt about what he said. I was troubled by what he said because he represented, I understood that he spoke with great conviction. I appreciated him for that. What was troubling to me about what he said was first the state of our country at that time, that he described a great conflict between the men of the North and the factories and the men of the South and their way of life. And he did not see a good resolution to the situation we were in. Yet he felt like he was a voice of reason that could unite. However, this is where it became troubling for me, because when he described uniting, it meant creating a strong, centralized government and less control within the territories and within the outlying states. And this was so far removed from the life I was living, I didn't see how it really affected me. So I wasn't connecting on a personal level with what he said. And this is what troubled me. But his presence, the way he spoke, I was an uneducated person in that time. And he was able to talk about some of the complexities of our country in very simple terms to where I actually understood. And other men like him that had come to talk, the few that would venture out to us, spoke in these words that just overwhelmed my limited knowledge, and I rarely understood much of what they said. And it was that it was my sense, that self-doubt within me about being good enough to have a conversation with him, that really held me back. You asked me to try to get close enough to have a conversation with him afterwards. And I got up, on the perimeter of the crowd. A lot of angry people stopped him afterwards and were challenging him. And I listened. I listened to how he calmly and very deliberately took on each question, and he gave reasonable answers. So regardless of how I felt about his message, I liked him deeply. And that was that day.
And then the next day, or a little further down the road.
A little further down the road, I find myself in the Union Army. What I understood of what transpired is very early on. This is now 4 to 5 years later. I'm like 20, 21 at this point. And there were others in town that were very pro-union, very anti-South. And when April came about and Fort Sumter occurred, there were those that were ready to go sign up. And they convinced me to go with them. I looked at it as, I know I referred to it, I said inscription, the word is conscription, but that actually didn't come into effect for a while. But this was a voluntary enlistment, but it was with people that were basically pulling me by the arm and saying, you need to go with us. You believe this, you need to stand up for it. And I ended up in the Union Army. All we did, as I said, most of our days before we went in to fight was just marching around, and it seemed pointless. But as we started in towards the battles, and I'm pretty sure it was Manassas we were heading to in 1861, so that would have been the first Bull Run. We were my small little band, regiment, or whatever we were, marching down the road. I was up in the lead. are in the front of this group, and we were attacked, and I was shot almost immediately. And it was a gut wound basically on the left side of my abdomen. And, I went down and as best I could crawled over under a tree. And you heard me, I was really in pain at that point. You talked me beyond that. So thank you for that.
Very welcome.
And then under that tree, in those final moments, I just became very sad, overwhelmed with sadness, because I knew in my heart that I would never fire my gun intentionally to kill someone. I just, all the times I had ever hunted back in Missouri was for game. And I was just sad, deeply sad that my life was ending. And I felt so like wasted. It was just a waste of time and energy. And that led into me dying, and we went through that death experience. And that was very profound, to see myself under that tree and have no real deep emotional connection to that body anymore. Just that sense of rising up, and so peaceful. And then the brilliance, that beautiful light that I moved into. And on the other side, my guide showed up immediately, because I was so traumatized in that death experience. And there were others there. I know during the regression, I spent a little bit of time with them, but it was not with any specific one. It was more like a group hug. And then my guide came to me immediately, said, "It's time to go. We need to go heal." And we went to this building, into this chamber, and there was a table there. It was those stone warming tables that you can lie on that they have these days. It's kind of got an infrared heat that comes up underneath. I don't know. I've been on one once before. It was a bit like that, but it was flat out. It was kind of a crystalline kind of substance, or it had a solidity to it that when I laid down, I wasn't just floating on clouds. It was very firm, very warm, and it immediately started infusing me with energy that was helping me revisit the limited time I had and have time to heal the places that needed healing. And almost immediately after that, it didn't take long, because there wasn't a lot that went on in that lifetime that required it. That part of my soul that had remained on the other side, I don't know if everybody's familiar with this concept, but when we incarnate, it's not our complete whole soul that comes down. There is a part of you that still remains behind, and I kind of liken that to the higher self in a way.
Just for clarification also, if I remember correctly, you were more in a light body at that point when you were healing,
Oh my
right?
God.
It wasn't.
Yes, it was not a physical body. It was definitely an energetic, light, kind of twinkly. And there was a green. It was a green color that was emanating. Yeah. And that part of me that did incarnate needed to be healed, went through that time. Time on the other side is very nebulous. So exactly how long that was in the context of our regression, can't say. But that part of me then merged back in at the end of that healing with the rest of my soul, so that everything that I brought with me from that lifetime could be fully integrated, and that wholeness restored to my eternal soul. And almost immediately after that, another of my guides, one that helps me process these lessons, and then also helps me prepare for another incarnation, showed up, and we actually went to an open area. There's kind of a long table and benches on either side. I sat on one, he sat on the other. And that's when you asked about talking with him. And I was able to listen to most of the recording this afternoon, and got to that point because this is where things get a little fuzzy in my memory. And I'm glad to have that recording to go back to. But he gave his name as Jezekiah, and you guys had a conversation.
Hey, it was cool. Yeah, sorry. So it's just like another Tuesday for me with the higher self. So if I'm playing it kind of coy, I'm like, yeah. So one of the things that I thought was really important that came up with him was, and this is where also my belief system is being challenged with every single session that I do, was he had said that that's not the way that it was supposed to be for that life. That life, I guess in the preparation stages or the planning stages, had a different intended outcome. That you weren't supposed to die in battle. So why I think that's really important to bring up is because I encounter a lot of people who have a sense of purpose, and they deal in absolutes, and they know exactly what they're here to do and exactly how their lives are going to play out. I got news for you. It doesn't always work out that way.
No.
And just like Randy's guide said, he had a different intended outcome in that life. It was not supposed to be that way. Yet the choices that we make in life, they send us down a different path. So it's like in that moment, I think that's where free will even comes into the equation, where even though you felt that pressure to go, you could have made the choice to stay. Now, of course, it could have made things very difficult for you had you made that choice, because who knows what those people would have done. But we do have power in our lives. We are not at the will of a plan. We may have an intended plan, but we have choice in the matter. We have choices that we get to make in order to really dictate what our outcome is going to be. And I thought that was very powerful when your higher self brought that up, because I do believe, well, I guess not fully, that we do have an intended outcome, yet it's a matter of how we get there. Like those are the choices that we get to make. So, your higher self did say that this was the way it was supposed to turn out. I believe it was you having a family in that life.
Yes.
Right. And that.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, this is the way that I chose to look at it beforehand, was that was always going to be the outcome. that you would always end up with that family, but it was just a matter of how you got there. But then here comes this big curveball.
Yep.
Where it's like, oh, I guess it doesn't always work out that way. So it's like, even it's a wake-up call for me. And I think it should serve as a wake-up call to everyone that we have power in our lives and that our choices do matter.
Absolutely. That's an absolute you can take to the bank.
I'll take that, absolutely.
Okay. As best I understood it, there was someone that was to come along, a woman to come along that intended to meet somewhere around that time there in the early 1860s. And we had intended to head further out away from all the established cities and such. And I'm going to use probably a strange term for other people, but create vessels for others in our soul group to incarnate into. Okay.
Like children.
In other words, make babies. In other words, okay. Yeah. And I think that's where so much of that frustration and there at the end, when I was lying under that tree, came about. I was deeply disappointed at the loss of opportunity and I didn't fully understand it when I was there, but when I was sitting there listening to y'all's conversation, I got it. I really, really got it. And yes, life events, nothing's completely set in stone.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't, in other words, let's use this as an example. We don't intentionally incarnate to come down here, grow to a certain age, and then go fight in a war and get killed. And, like
sometimes we do.
There are some occasions, but that's not the general intention. There are reasons for that, though, karmic reasons why that might occur. But
that's what I run into the most.
Exactly. But as a general rule, we're not all down here with that preordained point in time to die in war or any of that. Okay. Those turning points show up in our lives, and when they show up, free will, choice, that's our power.
Like, we have a mutual friend who's Christine from Astrology Now podcast.
Yes.
And what your session really brought up for me, granted, I know it's your session, so I'm sorry to say that sometimes I think about myself after the fact, is, she's very good with predictive astrology.
Very, very.
She is so good. In the time that I've known her, she has just nailed things that have come up in my life, and she'll say it months in advance. And there's a particular, I would say, an energy that she has predicted that will come into my life at some point this year. And after your session, it really makes me wonder, is it an absolute that it's going to happen? Or do I really have to grab the reins at some point? Am I going to, because if I go from that belief of whatever's preordained is just going to happen, am I just going to let the river take me where it's supposed to go? Or am I going to have to consciously make decisions for the moment and say, if I don't act upon this right now, that it's gone forever? And that the trajectory has been completely altered for where my life is supposed to go.
So what I'll say there is it depends on how intentionally you want to live your life. And that predictive astrology simply says what the potential is. And it's not, there may be a few things, but it's simply a reading of what's possible. And it still depends on your choices. And you know, the thing about her is, the thing I respect so highly about her is, in one aspect of Vedic astrology, there is, you know, a belief that a good astrologer, a really seasoned astrologer, can look ahead to a death date or a death period, the potential for. And for a Vedic astrologer to venture down that road can have karmic implications on them. And she is steadfast in not taking that on. And she'll talk about anything else you want to, but don't go there. Don't go there.
Oh, yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's where even I get skittish when it comes to sessions. Like, because I have people that jump into the future at some points.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh boy, I don't want them going there. But, you know, like, even with your session, what makes me wonder is there was that woman who you were intended, like, as the way you put it, to create vessels for others in your soul family.
Yeah.
Now, that was the plan.
That was.
So when you're right, and when you're taken out of the equation, how does that offset the balance of the universe? Because that woman, whoever she may be, well, did she just perish at that point? Or did she go live a life in solitude? Now, I know we can never know the answer to these things because you hadn't met her at that point. So it's a mystery as to who she was. But because you're taken out of the equation, does that mean that she is confined, to a life of solitude? Or because if she goes out there in the world and she meets another man, is she offsetting the balance of the trajectory of those plans, whatever they may have been on the other side?
It just won't be as complete as it was intended to. Okay? Two ships can pass in the night, as they say. I could have completely missed her at some point. She could have died before I met her. So many possibilities. You can't predict them all, but you can prepare for.
What's coming up for you?
There was a thought there. It'll come back in a minute. Go ahead with your questions. It'll come back.
Well, I guess these are the places that I really want to go in sessions. Like, that's why I'm like bringing it up now. Like, it's that pursuit of the knowledge of how does it all work? What are the complexities of the universe? Was it Jesiah, right? Was that was his name?
Yeah.
Like, asking him, how does the planning process work? Because if it offsets one, is it that ripple effect that just from you passing away in war, does that ripple around the world? And then are all the plans offset? And then you guys working on the fly on the other side, trying to set everything straight. We're like, all right, we got to blow the wind a little bit harder than usual, just so he's going to be offset by about 5 feet so he doesn't trip on that crap. And then, face plant right there. So the woman comes to his rescue because she's supposed to be with someone else. But yeah, sorry, this is where my mind goes sometimes.
Okay. Well, I can neither confirm nor deny this next thing I say, but you know the background with my sons. And because that life we're talking about was cut short by war, and my next life was cut short by a jealous older sister, I missed 2 opportunities. I don't know if there was another life between that 1880s life and the one I'm in now. That's roughly 50, 60 years. Maybe there was another one. That would have been short too if there had been. So regardless of that, what I'm getting at is I'm coming to the belief that my two sons are two that would have come in back there in the 1860s had things not been different, and that I'm completing that soul contract, or I did complete that soul contract at this time, and why things have been different in the typical father-son relationships this time. It just wasn't necessary to for any of us to play it out past the point in time it did. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's so much fun to think about these things and just what it all means. You know, sometimes a quarter is just a quarter, or sometimes
Sure.
like a walnut is just a walnut. Then again, sometimes a walnut may contain the answers to everything. Like, it's just, I have fun thinking about these things.
I enjoy that contemplation myself. Yeah. In fact, this past weekend, I got a chance to do some camping, and it was a meditative retreat. And I had many moments to ponder these very questions.
Anything cool come up for you?
Not in regards to any of this.
Just finding the clarity that you need?
Just clearing my head. Clearing my heart. Getting my mind straight.
Oh. Well, thank you for sharing. Anything else coming up for you for the session that you'd like to talk about?
I mentioned there was, we talked about that connection to Virginia with those two lives. You remember when I was sharing my bio and I said that I was born in Houston there in March of 1955? Never mind. My dad was transferred from there to Independence, Missouri, which when I looked it up, when I was researching Sheffield, Missouri, they lie within about 5 to 10 miles of each other in the Kansas City, Missouri area. And for almost the entire first 6 years of my life, I lived very close to where I had been that trapper and forager in the 1850s. Thought that was a little trippy.
That's so cool. Oh, so yeah, the Virginia connection. That was where you passed away, right? In that life?
Yeah.
Was in Virginia. That's where the battlefield was.
Yeah. Sorry, I had made a few notes of things to try to recall. Yeah, that was it. Yes, there in, I died in Virginia, and my incarnation the next time around was there.
And you were wounded on your left side in the battlefield, correct?
Yes.
And then you said when you fell in the well, you fell on your side, correct?
Yes.
Do you know if it was your left side or your right
I
side?
landed on my right side. It dislocated a shoulder, and I actually have some issues with the shoulder. That, yeah.
Boy, the universe really does go for balance, doesn't it?
You know, it...
So that may have been a sick joke.
Everything adds up. Everything gets taken in and can come back around at any time.
So what was most profound for you about the experience?
There was a subject that came up that you and Jezekiah really dug into at one point. And that was surrounding this vow that I took, that my soul took. And that vow is to, while I'm incarnated, never to take a human life. And when I said earlier that as I was marching there as a Union soldier, I knew I could not take another life. It just wasn't in my heart. And I think that's where why there was so much dread through all of that, from the time those townspeople took me with them to travel back east to join the Army, to when I was marching, and then, lying there dying. I just didn't have it in me to fire a gun at someone and take their life, regardless of what was happening. And why that's significant is recently, with all the turbulence and events that have been transpiring across the country, I actually, I couldn't believe it last year, but I actually was considering buying a handgun. That makes me physically break out in a sweat to think about. But I was actually thinking about it because I was feeling a lot of fear and unsafe. And even though in my heart of hearts I knew a gun wouldn't keep me safe, I was really contemplating it. And then going to a firing range, learning how to use it, really, if you're going to own one, be smart about it, get good at it so you know what you're doing around it. Otherwise, you're just setting yourself up for a disaster. But I was contemplating that. And that came up in the regression. And Jezekiah, I heard him specifically explain to you that my soul, one of my deeply ingrained core, it's a vow, a sacred vow that I took, that while I'm incarnated, I would never take a human life. And this handgun would have set me up for possibly finding myself in a situation where I'm standing there across from another person and, it's them or me. And I would have hesitated. And, there goes another one. So what was profound for me was the reminder of that vow, and that there are peaceful means to resolving conflicts. And that the way I've chosen when confronted with violence is to come from a place of compassion and use peaceful, nonviolent communication tools as much as possible, and to walk away, even if it means losing face to whoever's around. Because in one way, I'm setting my soul back hundreds, if not thousands of lifetimes. That's not cool. And losing my life again, which I still have a lot of things I want to do. So I've moved into that period of life that I call myself a sage now. And part of my dharma at this point is to be enlightening, empowering, and encouraging for those of you guys that are coming along after me. And you've got a lot to say and a lot of great things to do in this world. And I'm looking to leave it better by uplifting and up-leveling you guys as much as possible. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you. Well, it's much appreciated. And, I've encountered many times in regressions when people die senseless deaths. And what I hear in uniform almost every time after the fact is once they leave the body, they look back at it, they say, well, that was stupid. It's like, oh, so you get it there, but when you're in the body, it seemed like the best idea in the world. So I love how you just have that perspective on it and how you don't have to go through that process to only say on the other side, well, that was stupid. Like, I think that's great. And I have so much respect for that.
Well,
so, I mean, thank you so much for sharing.
As it came out, one of the things I was looking to confirm was I truly am a very, very, very old soul, coming from more than likely the starseed of Lyra or Lyran, or however they're pronouncing it these days. But that's not the only star system I've lived within. And I have traveled about, moved about, and accrued millennia times millennia of lifetimes and wisdom. And I just thought, I got stuff to do. I can't be messing around with all this mundane stuff that a lot of people want to spend their lives focused on. It's yeah.
Right. Everyone's got their thing. Everyone's got their purpose, and but I feel the same way about the mundane. But I think without the mundane, or what we would perceive as mundane, wouldn't everything be mundane?
Possibly.
I mean, I'm saying, right, like we need that in order. We need the mundane for the profound, or we need
without one there. Yeah, you don't have the other. That contrast is needed there. Contrast is such a huge necessary component of the world to fully experience it. But another reason why I say what I said is I know you're familiar with Ainsley MacLeod, correct? Mm-hmm. I've seen you on your Instagram feed some posts about him. Back in the day when his work was first coming out, I read both of those first two books, and he has that delineation between levels 1 through 10. Mm-hmm. Basically, from using his questioning, I'm like at 9, headed to 10. Which, when you come back at 10, you pretty much you become an ascetic, and you completely remove yourself from the world and go sit on a mountaintop somewhere. And I'm not quite ready for that yet, but I like level 9. I like level 9.
There's something cool about 9.
Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Right. I think you said, what was it? I think that was the instruction, right? That's the book where he talked about that?
Yes.
And what was it like? I think he called John Lennon a level 10. I think that was one of the people he put in a level 10.
Yep.
Can't remember who else, but I just remember John Lennon sticking out.
Since I've read it, but I do remember that part of it about me. So, and I fit the description of level 9 to a T. All the different aspects of it. So,
yeah. Well, man, I guess next time you'll be coming back as the new Beatles.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Or instead of double platinum, it'll be triple platinum.
Hey,
for that last album.
I'm learning to play the djembe, and it could be an African version of the Beatles. I don't know.
Right? Who knows where the power structure will be next time around? But I saw a question for you here.
Okay.
It was from Sarah James Carter, who was a past life sibling of mine. And what I always like to bring up when Sarah comes up is...
I know of Sarah. Yeah.
I'll show you the Christine connection. Yeah. Because I died trying to save Sarah in a past life. She was my sister, and I died trying to save her. I drowned. Thanks, sis. Okay, anyways. I'm never going to let her live that way.
As long as she wasn't standing on your head when you drowned, I think everything's good.
No, she wasn't doing that. She was just kicking my hands.
Oh, okay.
Like, getting off the rocks as I was trying to come up. Like, it was on a waterfall, like a big ass waterfall.
There was
and she's sitting there like
there was a good reason. Okay, yeah.
Okay, it really didn't happen that way. That like she didn't. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I made that part up about her, the waterfall. And she's saying lies right now. She just commented. You're right, all lies. But I did die trying to save her. Her words, not mine. So, anyways, her question for Randy is: did you have any inkling of a past life related to war before the regression, or was that all new?
Most of the regressions that I had prior to that life, most of the regressions took me back to lives where I referred to this one. I was a Shinto priest, or an early form of Shintoism. It wasn't that yet, but it was evolving into it in Japan in the 600s. There was another time where way back in what we refer to as Mesopotamia now, I was wanting to enter the priesthood and was starting to study for it, and then did a 180, walked out, never came back. But of warfare prior to that, not that I'm aware of, but I haven't done enough regressions yet to hit on them all.
Well, I guess for that one, like for me personally, whenever I'm out in nature, even up until this day, if I hear anything, like if there's a rabbit walking over a branch or a little twig or something, like I'm just like hyper vigilant.
Yeah.
Like, my head is on a swivel. It's like, oh, it's just a rabbit. Or, oh, that was just a bird, grazing a leaf. And what I found out in one of my past life regressions, ironically, one that was similar to Sarah's, is that I was killed by a big, big cat. Like, I think it was like a panther or something like that, but in the jungle. Like, this big cat got the jump on me. Like, it was, I don't know if it was ivy necessarily, but it was like that dense foliage.
Yeah.
And it got the jump on me. And I didn't see it coming, but I saw the foliage going it's like, oh, there's something coming right now. So then once I saw that, it made sense to me where that hypervigilance just comes from in nature. Like I'm always looking over my shoulder because it's that feeling of there's a big ass cat out there that's going to want to eat me if my head isn't on a swivel.
That's a profound impression on your limbic brain, so it's got to have an effect. Yeah, the limbic brain, because we're carrying that stuff around when we come back in. Yeah.
But Sarah just commented, wait, I didn't know you had one with a panther too. So Sarah, the reason I didn't tell you about that is because since there were still unanswered aspects of that past life that you saw, I didn't want to inject myself into it because I wanted everything to be authentic. So like when you received more information about it, I wanted that to be coming from an uncorrupted place. So I didn't want you to have that association with me having a past life in the jungle as well. And for whatever reason, you were going to consciously project me there. I wanted to leave that out. But since you got more clarity on it a little more recently, I'm okay saying it with you in the room because I think we eliminated the other potentials from that life. So that's a big one that I'm doing. I'm always thinking, what words should I use in this situation? Because I don't want to influence you in any way, shape, or form.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So sorry, Sarah. That's because I died trying to save you. That's why I didn't tell you. I wanted to hold it over your head. It's never going to get old. Never going to get old. So
to advance that final storyline that we got into there at the end of the regression, I was actually part of the group after the crucifixion that assisted Mary Magdalene in leaving and making that journey to the south of France and establishing that home for her child. And that's it. I know we don't have time to go into the second part of that, and I'm not trying to open that door, but just for your sake, I thought I'd pass that along, that all that period of time studying with the Essenes, being part of the, not the inner circle, but on the perimeter of Jesus' crowd, and knowing him from that time at Qumran. I assisted in helping her leave the country and finding safety there. And I never could quite explain it when I first heard the stories of the genocide of the Cathars in the 1100s there in the Languedoc region of France. I resonated with that story so strongly, and I couldn't totally explain it. And when I went to Europe 2 years ago, I had to visit Carcassonne, which is that castle where the Cathars, that was their primary focal point there. And I just had a strong connection to the land. And anyway, that's just a little tidbit for what came along after we finished this regression.
Thank you for sharing. And I noticed you mentioned there that Mary Magdalene had a child. So that just brings up a whole other slew.
I'm not going down that. Yeah.
We're safe right now, right?
I think we're in a safe crowd.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess that happened too. I guess Mary Magdalene had a child. So then the question is, who was the father of that child?
Yeah.
I don't know. It could have been anyone, right?
So many possibilities.
Right? So, yeah, very interesting you bring it up. Yeah, it's definitely one that, it's just very interesting. I don't know if you caught it a couple weeks ago where I had Jesus' best friend on. I mean, reincarnated.
I got the last 20 or 30 minutes of that, and I really want to go back and listen to that one in its entirety, because I was like, oh, yeah, sister, you talk, you preach.
It was a cool one from start to finish. I think it was episode 6, I want to say.
Probably so. Yeah, it sounds about right.
It was a cool one. So, yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And I guess, yeah, Mary Magdalene had a child. So my last question for you is, would you recommend this experience for others?
I would recommend this experience to anyone that has a desire to explore a deeper meaning and purpose of their life now. Not, I don't want to put that not on there, but going into it with just ooh, this is cool kind of attitude, I think can be a little flippant, because it's well, you saw my questions that I sent you. You knew where I was, what my mindset was as we went into this. I wanted deep, profound answers from my higher self, from my guides, anybody that would talk to us, and about my Dharma, confirming or adding to as it was appropriate for where I am right now.
There you go.
Because there are just some things you don't need to know, or some things you don't need to know right now. And that can influence, like you were talking about earlier, that can influence your choices. that can influence your free will, and that negates your power.
I think you said it beautifully. I think when you ask those questions, like the deep questions, I think what was also really important was you were ready for the deep answers. Because I do have people who will ask those questions, but they're not ready for the answers. Therefore, they're not going to get them because your higher self knows what you can handle. And with that also, I get those people who are very disappointed when they don't get some of those answers. But I think the flip side of it still is it's answers that they're not ready to get. I've been doing this.
You heard the hesitation in Jesica's voice in his answers. There were things he had to deeply consider, pause and consider before he answered. And there were times he would not answer a question where it was about another person, people in my life now that could influence the direction of their life.
Exactly. So it's like they know. And what I appreciated about you is that you put your faith in the process, which, I mean, it means a lot to me because, I've been doing this for a couple of years now. And like I've told the people who watch Past Life Talk before, like I still do or have my own regressions like every 2 to 3 months. And I'm still learning along the way. Like there's so much that I'm learning still in questions that I ask of my higher self. Well, it's like, no, not yet. It's not the time yet. Right. It's like, wait, I'm coming in here every 2 and 3 months doing this. You're telling me not yet? Like, no, not yet. I'm like, okay, well, I trust you guys. So you get what you're ready for, but it's like you got to be ready to receive after you're doing the work. Like it's not a miracle process. Like as much as I like to really say it can be a deeply transformational experience and up there with one of the most transformational experiences of your life, it's if you allow it to be. And it's if you are willing to do something with the information after you receive it, instead of just expecting that things are going to change for you.
I was just going to add that you have to be ready to respond to what you receive.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, what's the point?
Exactly.
Yeah. So there are some, I wouldn't say changes in the direction of my Dharma, but there are tweaks and adjustments based on, what came up. And I get very excited thinking about how that will play out. And yes, 1,000 times yes, do it if you're ready to receive.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so grateful to Christine for putting me on your radar. And I mean, this has been a great experience just doing the talk with you today, doing the session with you. Like, you're awesome. Like, I'm so fond of you. And I'm so grateful to just have the opportunity to meet you. And I can't wait to see what the future has in store for you. And I can't wait for it. I can't wait to see where Randy's going next.
I'm always curious about that myself. But I appreciate what you're doing so very much. You're providing something at this point in time that the world needs for those that are ready to, that are truly seeking deeper meaning and deeper answers for their lives. And I appreciate, yes, a big shout out. Thank you to Christine for the connection. And like I said, I had heard you on 2 or 3 other podcasts back there in March, February, March timeframe. And I was like, okay, I have to do this. Why are you not? It's just not the right time. Then it was the right time. And, when you know it's the right time, that's when you have to take inspired action. And that's what you were talking about. We were kind of alluding to earlier for down the road. When it shows up, take inspired action and see where it leads you.
Thank you so much, Randy. And where can everyone follow you?
Right now it's all about, I've got the one Instagram account. There's more coming. In May and June as, for the past year, due to the world we live in, I haven't actually been practicing body work at all, but I'm actually moving back into that in May and June. And there will be a website and all the appropriate accoutrements to go along with that. So right now, it's just the Instagram account. And that's the long and the short of it. I'm pretty simple right now.
And what's your Instagram?
Oh, it's just my name, Randy Rudloff.
And how do you spell Rudloff?
Rudloff.
Well, it's time for my sign off now. I think you may like this one. And also at the end, if you can smile, just so I get it for the thumbnail. So we're both got like the big smiles on the end. So we both look, well, please semi-presentable.
Get a little more light up here. Okay.
So it is my belief that I was killed in the past life for speaking out for things such as astrology. So, hey there, people who did that to me back then. How do you like me now? It's fun, isn't it? Yeah, that's my sign off. I still got to get this moved down more.
I love it. Yeah. Well, a little more of that. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Randy. All right, let's smile for the thumbnail.
Here we go.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Fellow time travelers, your journey through time awaits you. Just want to thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. And if you're interested in discovering who, when, and where you have been throughout time, and you'd like to book a session with me, just go ahead and send me a message on Instagram at The Past Life Regressionist, or you can reach me through my website, yourpastliferegressionist.com.